Diddy dai 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 bam 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 bam. Hi na 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 bam bam bam. Diddy dai na 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 na. Welcome to Kalman Stories. This week, Parshat Aryeh, I have a number of stories about the power of giving Tzedaka, charity, and I'm doing it this week in honor of the holy Rabbi Aryeh Levine. So a few short vignettes to bring light to our charity this week and for the rest of our lives. So Rabbi Aryeh was once walking down the street in the narrow streets of Jerusalem when a beggar comes up to him and says, "Please, can I have some tzedakah?" And Rav Aryeh would always give tzedakah to these people who needed it so much. Rav Aryeh checks through his pockets and he says, "Wait a second, I don't have anything." And right next to him, there was a rabbi that Rav Aryeh was friendly with. Rav Aryeh says, "Please, can I borrow a few pounds, 10 pounds?" And the man says, "You don't have to borrow. I see what you're doing. I'll give it to you. You can give it to the beggar." And Rav Aryeh looks at him and says, "What? Are you crazy? You think I'm going to give up the merit, the zchut, to give charity? I want it all for myself." And so he took the money, he gave it to the beggar, and he paid back the loan when he had the time. But this was the attitude that Rav Aryeh Levine had to charity. It wasn't just a chore to be get beggars off of your back. It was the greatest zechut, the greatest merit to take the money that God had given him and to contribute it with a smile to that poor beggar. Another amazing story about Rav Aryeh Levine. So Rav Aryeh used to support many poor people, and there was a young Torah scholar who was on Rav Aryeh's list. And Rav Aryeh himself wasn't so rich, but a lot of people knew him as a righteous man, so they gave him money to give away. And of course, he had his very modest salary, and he would give a ridiculous amount away. He lived so humbly, but he would give everything he could away. Anyways, this man became a little bit more extreme in his views, and he decided to stop taking charity from Rav Aryeh Levine, because Rav Aryeh had been associated with Rav Kook, and Rav Kook was associated with the secular Zionists. So he didn't want to take any money from Rav Aryeh Levine. When Rav Aryeh heard about this, if he were someone like you or me, our feelings would probably be hurt. We'd say, "What? He doesn't want to take money from me?" That wasn't Rav Aryeh. Rav Aryeh arranged an intermediary, somebody to give the money to this poor man so that he wouldn't know that it was really Rav Aryeh supplying the money behind the scenes. He wasn't doing it for himself, for kavod. As we said before, he was an intermediary of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no personal bias. Speaking of intermediaries, do I have another amazing story for you, this time not just about Rav Aryeh, but about Rav Avram Yitzchak Kook. At least he's getting involved in the story. So once there was a rabbi, and he was part of the Neturei Karta, who did not like very much Rav Kook, because Rav Kook, as I mentioned, was associated with the Zionists. They decided they were extremely against anything that had to do with Zionism. And more than once, this rabbi, the head of the Neturei Karta, had embarrassed Rav Kook in public. And the sad thing is that this rabbi's daughter was very, very sick. And after asking the doctors around Israel, they all agreed there was only one specialist in a very particular place in a different country, and he's the only one who could have a chance to cure his daughter. But after doing a few inquiries, the rabbi realized that this man was a very, very busy man. If he just sent another request to just another rabbi, there's very little chance his daughter would be cured before it was too late. But the thing was, he learned that this doctor was a great admirer of Rav Kook himself. So now the rabbi was in a quandary. On the one hand, of course, he couldn't just approach Rav Kook, who, it would just be terribly embarrassing to go to Rav Kook and ask a favor, but on the other hand, he needed to do something to save his daughter's life. So the plot he thought of was to use Rav Aryeh Levine, who he knew was associated with Rav Kook, but at the same time, he was more acceptable in his world, much more acceptable. He asked Rav Aryeh to go to Rav Kook. Rav Aryeh explained the situation, and Rav Kook said, of course, and he penned very carefully a very beautiful letter, throwing away all personal bias, hoping that this letter would indeed make its way to the doctor to enable this girl's life to be saved. So again, not just charity through money, but charity through actions, in this case demonstrated both by Rav Kook and Rav Aryeh Levine. One last story about giving tzedakah with a smile, when there was a terrible, terrible story in Africa where there was a genocide. Israelis, even at the time, this is the early 20th century where the poverty was so great, they decided they too need to contribute to help the refugees of this terrible massacre. And Rav Aryeh Levine himself gave tzedakah to this cause, and the Magen David Edom man took it and said, oh, this is shliach mitzvah money from Rav Aryeh Levine. I'm going to keep it with me so I'll be protected. When he came back, he told Rav Aryeh about the poverty and how much the tzedakah made a difference. And Rav Aryeh from then on doubled his charity to this cause, for he said they too are made in the image of God, and we need to designate some of our charity to also non-Jewish causes to help our brethren and to continue to sanctify God's name. So may Hashem inspire us to be like Rav Aryeh Levine and to give charity with a smile, knowing that we are the lucky emissaries of God, giving the money He gives us as much as we can to help make the world a better place. May we be zoiche to do it with a smile.